Alright, I'm going to make a change to the Victor lathe. Now when I purchased the lathe, it had one of these multi-fix 40 position tool holders on it, and I had 3 tool holders with it. I love these particular tool holders. As you know, I've got them on the small lathe, and I've made probably about 10 of these particular holders for that unit. This particular one retails for probably around $1,500. Very, very expensive. It's a high quality one. It's a name brand unit, Hayes. The problem is I've got 3 tool holders, and to purchase any more tool holders, they're about $300 each. So for another 3 tool holders, I'm up for $900. Now I could make these, but much larger, a lot more work required to get these made up, and I don't see myself investing the time to do that. Now the local machinery house had their November sale, and I purchased this particular camlock style tool holder for around $800, and that came with seven tool holders. Sorry, 5 tool holders, and I purchased another 2, so I've got 7 altogether. These tool holders retail for about $75. Now I couldn't make them for that, and I don't think I'd invest the time to set up and make them unless it was going to be a special. Difference in quality is chalk and cheese. The quality on this isn't what you call great. The quality in the finish isn't great, but realistically all it has to do is be extremely rigid, hold the tool on center, and I think it's capable of doing that. My father had one of these on his Sheraton, and it was quite a good unit. Same style, same size. Alright, and whenever you buy these particular units, you've usually got to make up your own mounting arrangement to get it onto your top slide. So, and this one's going to be no different. So I'm going to make some modifications to the top slide. This is where the pin goes through, and the unit will be sitting on top of this. So the pin comes up with a locking nut on top. Now, there is a counter bore inside here. I don't know if you can pick that up, but it's a very small shoulder. So I want to increase the diameter of that counter bore and get a little bit more bearing onto that shoulder. The hole comes out the top's a 32mm diameter, so I'm going to counter bore the back of this to the same size as what that pin's going to be coming through. And there's a few other things we're going to be doing with that as well. Alright, so that's what we're going to get up to. We'll get a start. So the first thing is we'll get the modifications done first. So I'll set up the top slide first in the mill, and we'll get that counter bore done, and then move on to this bloke, get the counter bore done on this, and then we'll move on to the pin. So the pin's going to be made out of 4140. I've got some 4140 stock, some fairly old stuff and rusty stuff, but I do know that it is 4140. Alright, let's get over to the mill, get this set up, and we'll make a start. Righto, I've got the bore clocked up pretty spot on there. We'll set up the boring head, and we're going to come out to 38mm. It's 35 at the moment, so we're going to go another 3mm on the diameter, and I'm going to go slightly deeper, so we're going to face that off slightly at the bottom as well. Alright, we'll get that set up going, and we'll come back when we're ready to go. Alright, so this is my boring and facing head. It's it's a pretty cheap version. It's not like the quality units you get out of Japan or Germany, but it does the job. A bit of a story about this. I won this online at one of the online auction companies, Graves Online, I think it was, from memory, and it was a widower who was selling out all the stock equipment and machinery from her husband's business. And the business was a high-end, I guess, welding company that did welding in a vacuum. They had vacuum chambers right throughout their workshop, and it was quite large. And this woman's husband had passed away fairly quickly from a brain tumour. So her son took over the business, and within 12 months he was also diagnosed with the same brain tumour, and passed away very quickly as well. So she was selling up the whole business. So you sort of wonder whether there was something in the environment that was affecting this father and son team. When I did get this, they'd used this for some sort of experimentation, and there was a bit of the guts that were missing out, particularly the feed mechanism. So I had to pull it apart and reverse engineer it and make up a number of mechanisms inside this to get this thing working. But it does the job. It's not the greatest in the world, but it does do the job. And the reason I've got the facing head on here at the moment is we're going to bore and then we're going to face out the base to depth. The other thing on this boring and facing head too, it's like my other boring heads work off the radius, this one works off the diameter. So you've got to be a little bit careful. And one thing I've found too is this cast iron is fairly hard that's on those units. So I'm only taking in increments, so we'll start puttering through this. We've only got about 1.5 mil to take out of this. So we're taking, this will be 0.4 out of the diameter on this cut. Alright, I'll keep going. The tool on this I've got is one of those cheap brazed on carbide bits, probably not the greatest one to be using, but I have diamond dressed this up, so it's got quite a nice little radius with a very good finish on it. Well, I'll keep going. We'll bring you back when we get into the last cut, and then we're getting set up to do the facing. Righto, on to the last cut. I've been very happy with the accuracy of this. I've checked it a couple of times throughout and it's been absolutely spot on. When I've asked it to take off, it's taken off exactly. So, alright, this will be the last cut out to 38 millimeters. Right, we'll do the bore check, and before we do anything else, I'm going to set the stops, the retraction stops. So when we are facing out, we won't be able to go beyond that stop position. Alright, let's have a look and see how we're looking. Yeah, it's close enough to 38, spot on. Alright. We'll get set up for facing the base of this now. I've got about 0.5 mil to take off the base, so we'll get the head set up for that. As I said, I'm going to adjust those stops now just to make sure that we don't go beyond our diameter there. So I'll get that set up now and we'll bring you back when we're going to face it. Alright, let's get this facing done. I'm only taking out about 0.2 mil at a time, just going to take it easy. There is an arm bar that attaches to this, but I like to use my fingers when I'm doing this. I've got a lot more control when I can let go. All right, let's see how we go. Alright, we've left a beautiful little radius in the corner there. Okay, we'll break this down and we're going to start machining up the pin for it now. Alright, let's have a quick look at what we're going to make up here. This is going to be the post that's going to go in the tool holder. I've given an envelope dimension of 79.5, which is the overall height of the tool holder, so that I've got that to work with. So 38 mil diameter, which is for that register that we just machined. We've got a 32 mil diameter, which is existing in my tool post, and we're going to put a 3/4 UNC thread on the end of this. I don't have an M20 tap to be able to tap that out for the caps and nut. So fairly straightforward, and we'll get into it. All right, guys, material. So I've got a bit of chrome moly, chrome plated bar stock here. This is off an old hydraulic cylinder. I'm lucky a company that used to do an awful lot of work for me many years ago used to tuck this stuff off to one side for me. They were a specific hydraulic repair company. very high quality too, by the way. Take this off to one side for me, and I'd come and grab it, this sort of stock when I needed it. So we've got this. This is measuring up at 38.1, which is exactly your inch and a half. So it's got about 0.1 that needs to come off to fit onto that register. I do have some 4140, but it's quite a bit bigger than this and requires an awful lot more machining to get it down to size. So I'm going to give this one a go first and see how we go. Just skimming off that little bit of chrome. I should have made it the same size as this, but anyway, we'll give it a go and see what happens. Okay, we're just knocking this down in steps at the moment, leaving about 1/2 mil up so that the material can move and do what it likes for a little while. We'll let that cool right out before we start our final cuts. One mistake I did make is I'm thinking I should have maybe made up the capstan nut first and threaded that. I was going to cut this as an M20, but I don't have an M20 tap. I do have a 3/4 tap, but I don't have a 3/4 nut. I've got an M20 nut, but I don't have a 3/4 nut, so I should have maybe made the capstan nut first and then threaded it to match up to the thread that I need to cut onto this. But never mind, we'll come up with something anyway. Alright, we're getting close. I'll get this down to size shortly, and we'll come back. Alright, that's it all roughed up. I'm going to let that cool down now, and then we'll come back and do the final cuts to diameter and the final cuts to length as well. We'll get set up for cutting that thread. Okay, we're 0.05 up. I'm just going to do a little bit of linishing to get that down to size, to get the machining marks. Right, this one here is a critical dimension. This is the one that's got to fit inside the top slide. So at the moment, I'm at 32.59. Alright, I've got to get down to 32. Alright, I'm going to bring you back when I'm getting closer to getting all of these finished off, and we'll see how let's see how close to the money we got. 105, a couple of thou. I'll just finish that down. So what I want to do is about 20 millimeters it's going to register, and there's about 25 millimeters here that is going to register inside the tool post. Now I don't want to be pressing that all the way through, so I'm just going to relieve this little section here, just leave this slightly up on diameter, so that it's going to be a very, very light press fit into the top slide. Might be worthwhile showing you just how I do that undercut, but the great thing with this diamond tool head is that I can rotate that around and then feed that in like so, and just do a very, very light undercut back inside it. So I still maintain the radius to take away the stress razor, but we give ourselves some clearance. Alright, let's get set up for this threading operation. One of the things you'll notice when I'm cutting, I don't have my top slide set around at 30 degrees. I actually side shift my top slide and cut on the flanks that I want to cut on to clean it up. You just got to get used to how much you've got to do. It's just a bit of a feel, but I prefer to do it that way and have control over the finish. Well, I'm going to keep going with this, and we'll bring you back when we're getting close to the end. All right, this is 1 mil in now, so we've been going for about just under 10 minutes now. You see what I mean by the side cutting? I've just indexed the top side cross a little bit. You can see how that's just cutting on one flank there, just creating that nice little curl. You can see how it's just catching the other side now, just licking it, so I'll just index it a little bit more for the next cut. Well guys, I must apologise, my camera battery went flat. I'm having real troubles with this camera now. I've had this for many years and it's pretty trashed. It's a cool Pix S9600. So fairly cheap when I bought it, but anyway, it's done well over the years. This is how the post came up, and I think we packed it in with the camera when I was cutting the threads, and they have come up absolutely perfect, so very happy with that.